I'm gonna do something really daring and pretty stupid. I'm gonna mount this thing bareback right now, like I'm not already covered in hair. What's up guys, I'm Lizzie. Today I want to talk about the importance of your timing and order of your cues and aids. I've gone over this in other videos, but I want to touch more on, does your horse understand your language? And can you teach your horse certain vocal cues like ho? I had a person ask me recently if there is a vocal cue you can use to make your horse slow down, not necessarily stop, just slow down. And I told her that a voice command is something that the horse learns from association, meaning that it's the first thing in a sequence of things that happens to make something else happen. Usually in the process of asking a horse to do something or training them to do something, there's not just one command that we use to get them to do something. Usually there's a sequence of aids that we use to get one response, like your seat and body language, your leg pressure, rein pressure, vocal cues. Usually we do all of those things to get a horse to do something like stop, or back up, or go forward, or turn. And usually your goal for your end result is for you to be able to use the smallest ask to get your horse to do something. Because a quiet rider, it usually looks like a more knowledgeable, better, well-trained rider, in my opinion. And in order for you to be able to get your horse to respond to the quietest cue eventually, you have to make sure that you're using your cues in the right order. So the quietest cue is the one you're going to use first. So say I want to back Stella up, and eventually I want to be able to have her back up with me just saying back up. What I do is I say back up, then I lean, use my body language, good girl. And she already backs up because we've been working on that. So if you want to be able to train a horse to be quiet and use quiet cues, you want to use your quietest cue first and build your way up. You're going to start with your most quietest cue or aid, which can be your vocal cue or your body language or your seat, and then you're going to start adding the more obvious cues and aids. So you start with vocal cue, you're going to move into your body language, and then down to your seat, so you're going to be leaning back or whatever you need to do. Then you're going to add leg pressure, and then you're going to use your reins, because usually we want to be able to use as little rein as possible. So vocal command, body language, seat, leg, rein, because the rein aid is the most physical and it'll be the most obvious one to the horse. So it'll back up the other cues when they don't understand those. Say I wanted to turn Stella that way and I want to be able to move her with leg pressure. So I'm going to squeeze with that leg, and then I'm going to pick up this rein and ask her to go that way, and then I'm going to release as soon as she does. So the order of your aids is super important, especially if you want to create a really soft horse and be a really quiet rider. So back to the getting your horse to slow down without stopping, vocal command thing. I do have a word that I use for my horse, but obviously not all horses are going to know this cue. This is something you have to train them, because words are associated with the backup aids that you teach your horse. When Stella is trotting and I want her to slow down to a walk, I'm not going to say ho, because that is our stopping aid. So what I do is I say whoa, and I kind of sink myself into my seat and just make my weight feel really heavy, like I'm putting on the brake. Another thing that horses associate with our language is not the words that we're saying, but they understand more of how we're saying it, the tone of our voice pitch. Like if we say, oh, good horsey, that's, you know, our playful, cute voice, and they understand that, the sound of that. Or if we're angry and we're yelling at them, they definitely understand and they can pick up our anger. There's actually been a study done where horses get a lot more fearful around angry people. So they definitely understand the tone of our voice and our intentions behind our language, but not necessarily the words that we are saying. I have kind of trained Stella to bring her head to my knee when I say apples, but when I say it like apples, she doesn't understand it because I have to say apples. Good girl. Also, I back it up with my hand aid because it's another way of training her to do that. And obviously I need to once in a while give her apples for doing that, because otherwise she wouldn't continue to do it. But it's just one of those things that it's the tone of my voice, not necessarily the word. So when I say ho, I go ho. Like I mean it, like a stop right now, and I put it into my body language. And when I say whoa, I don't go whoa, I go whoa. I put the brakes on and I kind of make my weight drop to my feet. So I imagine my feet dragging on the ground to put the brakes on. And that is my body language slowing down. There's nothing better than a horse that's been soaking up all the sun so that you can just squeeze the vitamin C out of them. Or is it vitamin D? I guess it's vitamin D. I don't mean to squeeze the vitamin C out of you. You can keep that. So, next time you are riding or training a horse, you should think about what your end goal is and what cue you want to be able to use for your horse to be able to respond to you. And whatever cue that is, that should be your first cue in your sequence of aids. Whether that is turning your horse and wanting to be able to use leg pressure, you use leg pressure and then the rein, or if you want to be able to back up, you use your seat first and lean back and then you pick up the rein. Or if you want to be able to just have your horse stop when you pick up the rein slightly, you do that first. Whatever cue you hope to be able to only use should be the first one in your sequence of cues and aids, basically. And that is because obviously your lightest cue, your horse is not going to understand that right away. So when you're training a new horse or a horse that's not used to this aid, you want to use this aid first, and they probably won't understand it right away. So you back it up with something that they do know, like a rein pressure or seat or whatever. And eventually they will associate your vocal cue or your body language and your seat or your leg pressure with what aid comes next. They'll be able to predict what's going to happen next if they don't respond. Eventually all they need is that light first aid. And the release of your pressure is also extremely important, because if you wait too long to release your pressure, it's going to take much longer for your horse to be soft, because if we go through all of our sequence of aids and we start with the vocal cue and the seat and the body language and the leg pressure and the rein, the horse starts responding at our leg pressure, but we don't release until we finish our sequence of aids, so we end up using the rein anyways. So if you start getting the response you want in your sequence, stop the ask immediately and don't continue on with your aids. You want to stop as soon as you can, because that's creating a light pressured horse. So if you want your horse to back up and you say back up and you lean backwards and the horse starts backing up already, but we continue on with our aids and we use our legs and our reins and then we release, we're going to confuse the horse and take much longer to be able to get the soft, quiet aids that we want to get in the end. So timing and order is very important. And obviously the same thing applies to when we are dealing with our horses on the ground and doing groundwork and stuff, because yeah, we want a safe and quiet horse while we're on the ground too. So you want to practice your quiet aids first all the time. But my hands are freezing. This attire might be fooling you because it is not as warm as I make it look. I'm just tired of bundling up. It is the first day of spring, but you would not know it because the wind is freezing. But spring is in the air, so I'm not going to complain any further. But I need to go. Horses need water. Hopefully my hose is not frozen anymore. And I have to go bake some sourdough buns. So I'll see you guys next week Sunday. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give a big like and subscribe. You can go follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And I'll see you guys next week Sunday. Bye.